Aloha and welcome back to another episode of the Ohana Packers Edition podcast, the podcast where two dudes from halfway around the world talk everything green and gold. And today we're joined by Amr and Bernie from Coast to Coast Packers. Amr, Bernie, thanks for joining the show today as we finally are reviewing an actual football game. And as they say, the refs are on preseason too. We are OPE is as well because we have no freaking show notes because I finished watching the game right before hopping on this podcast. So no notes. We're going bare boned. Amr, Bernie, as we always do with all our guests, we throw you guys right into the middle of the fire. Thank you for joining us today, and we're gonna have some fun.
Hell yeah, man. We can't wait, man. Looking forward to it. I think we've been ready for this for a while now, so I know I'm ready. Bernie, what you got?
Oh, man. I'm ready, man. I did my show Big Cheese Sports as I always do every Sunday morning. And this was the first thing I talked about on the air was Packers Browns. So I'm ready. I got my notes up here now. So let's do this thing.
To keep it with some sort of sophistication and organization, we will try to run this like we usually do for our regular season games. So we're going to start off with a quick overview, sharing some notes between all of us. Then we go through offense, defense, special teams. I know it's a little bit clunky and funky with a preseason game just because, how many guys are we watching are actually going to make the final roster? But there was a lot of good. Honestly, not too much bad by my opinion, but I know that we'll definitely exchange notes over that as we go. But overview, Packers win 23-10 against the Cleveland Browns on the road to open up the 2024 preseason. Guys, initial thoughts, just quick and dirty off the cuff. What you guys got? Start with the guests.
Man, I'll start right away, man. It was just like, how beautiful was it to see the touchdown that we got, the Love-Wicks connection? I think that's what everyone wanted to happen, and we got it. And then we probably won't see Love for the rest of the preseason, but it was a thing of beauty. Wicks didn't even break stride. It seemed like we didn't even break a sweat. I love it. I'm ready for the regular season.
Man, I don't think I can piggyback off that anymore, man. When it comes down to it, seeing Jordan Love come out 2 for 2, throw a bomb, touchdown, get Wicks just kind of telling everybody exactly what he's about and all the hype he's been getting from Mina Kimes and Steve Smith and everybody else. That was awesome. And just honestly, even though we saw a very, very, very vanilla offense and defense, just seeing how the defense just seemed on the defensive line were attacking more, it was awesome. And I just think that Goody may have really struck gold, not just with the draft class, but also his UDFAs. A lot of the guys that were playing on the offensive line that were not even draft picks have really showed out.
Yeah, these guys have already basically said everything. So let's just jump into like the offense, because as Bernie said, that you had that amazing play, pass, deep bomb from Love to Wicks. And that's been the story of training camp so far, is the deep ball by Jordan Love. We just saw it perfectly. Now, I know I'm probably going to get roasted myself from last week saying that Wicks is maybe a 50-50. We're not sure about Wicks's because of his lack of time playing snaps and stuff like that. We know who the top three are: Watson, Dobbs, and Reed, and we weren't sure, or I wasn't sure after that. But I think Wicks is starting to solidify himself into 4. Although, if you look at the snap counts, that pass was his only snap of the game. So you got to kind of question why they're limiting, the interaction with him, especially considering, like Amr just said, that we're probably not going to see, and Bernie said that these guys aren't probably going to play the rest of the preseason. So you're only going to give this guy 1 snap, and then we're done. Are they worried about something with him? Is he dealing with something ticky-tack? The one down thing that I have to say about this game is we did find out that Marshawn Lloyd has been dealing with a hamstring that flared up again on him.
1,000% a Packers player.
Yeah, I was going to say he fits right in. He fits right in. Jordan did say he wanted to play some more, so he did say that he wanted to have a little bit more in the last preseason game. So against Baltimore's defense, that would be pretty nice.
Well, yeah, and if you guys remember with the old preseason, the way it used to be with the 4 games, Usually the starters would play like a couple of snaps in the first game. They would play a quarter in the third game, a half in the second, or a quarter in the second game, a
half and
a half in third, and then in the fourth game they weren't playing anything.
All backups.
Right? Yeah, so they've got to kind of fix that in with everything else. But the one thing I want to say about the Wicks bomb is, did y'all catch how early he was calling for the ball?
Yeah.
I mean, he knew it. He knew he was gone. Even his leaving. That was textbook on every layer. Wicks was even and leaving. Love puts his back foot in the ground, throws it. No, we Joe, you and I talked about it a lot last year. We thought there were too many chefs in the kitchen with his deep ball. You had LaFleur going into the hole, put air under it. And the thing is like Love was a good deep ball thrower in college. A lot of his production was off deep shot plays out of Utah State's run and shoot style offense. And so it was kind of weird to see him struggle so much with it last year. And it was, we talked about it on last week's show. You saw the upturn toward the second half, last third of the season, really, where it kind of started to come back. And then it's really good to see him carry it forward in this first preseason game. Now, also to touch on that, LaFleur did say, he basically already said Love's not playing next week, but he said, I think like a handful of starters will play. So I'm not surprised. And on the Wicks point, I view it from the totally other side of it. I think that they have high expectations and a lot of shit that they're going to use him on. So, let him get out there, run a little bit. And then I just think that they're going to unveil him in a whole bunch of different ways. And there's no point in showing him doing anything out of the ordinary in the preseason. This is a simple slot fade that he scored on yesterday. And I mean, you just love to see it, like pun intended.
Well,
all of it.
I think my thing is I want, and it was kind of what I was leading in with the Marshawn Lloyd thing, is I wonder if there's like a hidden injury that we're not hearing about. Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't remember anybody saying about Lloyd having a hamstring issue until after the game, and they said that he's been dealing with this since the beginning of camp. So I'm wondering if it might be the same thing with what's that?
He said it though. Like, I don't think he was letting him know, because he was saying that I've had a little hamstring this whole time.
Yeah,
he's been pushing through it. But I think he was kind of keeping it to himself, and because he's had it before. So he said he didn't think evidence until it really caught up on him in the games. I think maybe he may not have been forthcoming with the medical staff when it came to what his injury was.
And that could be too.
Because think about what's understanding for Valentine. Valentine hasn't played since he pulled his hammy, right? And then I know Cooper had a hammy, then it turned out to be a groin. Same thing, they've been safe with him too. So I think like Marshawn had already missed time because of the hip. I don't think he wanted to come on and be like, oh, my hamstring's acting up too. Because when you're a rookie, sometimes some guys are like, hey, Randall Cobb even said it. He was a second-round pick. He thought that he was going to get cut because he wasn't getting any game time because of the fact that, remember the strike, so that he didn't even play, right? So some of these guys do come in thinking, like, no matter where I'm getting drafted, your best ability is availability. And if he's not out there, he may have said, screw it, I'm going to try to push through it and kind of maybe hurt himself more by doing so.
Yeah. Right. And it could be kind of the same thing with Wicks, too. I don't know. And I'm not trying to play, hot take here and saying, Wicks isn't going to be on it. It's kind of weird that he only played one snap, considering that there is this huge battle at the back end of the, from basically 4 down, there's this huge battle for positionship in the wide receiver group. So it's weird that he only got one snap while the other guys were getting, major snaps.
I just think I understand where you're coming from, but I just think it speaks to the other side of it. I think he's basically locked on the roster. And the reason that you saw DeBose, Heath, Melton, even to another extent, those 3 guys get a lion's share of the snaps the rest of the game, is because they're just trying to figure out, 5 through 7, who is going to take those last few spots on this roster. I think especially with, we got to finally see the new kickoff rules enacted. We'll talk this more in the special teams section, but I think the new kickoff rule, it really does lend itself to keeping more receivers on the roster. I know that it's still a little bit of a, clusterfuck in terms of like, you have the 53, you have the new rules, but you still only got a game day 46 active and stuff. So there's some shuffling on that side of it, but I do think it opens up, more, not even flexibility, but new quote unquote new wave roster construction thinking, because you're like, we only just stuck one guy back there. And so if you couldn't tackle or you couldn't block, it's like, we don't need you on this roster as a 6th or 7th wide receiver. But now it's like, oh, we might need 2 returners who can, do whatever with the ball and stuff. So I know that's one that will kind of be bouncing on. And I don't think you're wrong to think that way, Joe. I think that the way you're coming at it is very constructive, unlike some other people who we may go into in another segment who are just kind of like 6 snaps, he's getting cut. So I think you are trying to take a more judicious approach to thinking about it. But
because we've seen weirder things happen. We've seen weirder things happen where we were for sure this one guy was going to be on the 53-man roster all the way through training camp, and then when they get to final cuts, he's not even on the team anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying the same thing.
Braden.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that I'm not saying that's going to happen with Wicks. It's just I know there's 3 main guys that aren't going to get moved for anything unless it's like a major trade or they go out and have this, they do like Denver wide receivers tend to do and go out speeding 150 mile an hour down the road and take out, a house or whatever. So it's but unless that happens, you know who your 3 main guys are. After that, it's okay, well, we have this fluctuation between these other guys that need to have a niche to be able to stay on the roster. Anyway, we got guests, and I feel like I'm taking up all the time. What were your guys' bright spots for this offense?
Offense, I think, if anything, I think we saw that Michael Pratt can put down a good lead block. But no, just kidding. But honestly, I think I liked the work that we saw with Jacob Monk. I know his practice snaps and training camp haven't been the greatest, but he's a gamer. He was out there. He was tossing guys. There was maybe 1 or 2 blocks where he maybe lost a little bit of leverage, but for the most part, he looked the part. I mean, there's a lot of talk about A.J. Dillon not running, either he didn't have anything set up for him or he didn't run well. End of the day, Emmanuel Wilson was the man that people weren't talking about and they need to talk about because he ran his butt off. Like you
can say it. Don't censor yourself on this show.
I know. I'm just saying he ran his ass off, right? Like he came in for Aaron Jones in that divisional game. They should have kept giving him the rock because he was getting yards. He was positive, and honestly, that he is definitely a running back that I don't think he gives up that RB2 spot anytime soon.
I like Wilson too. He was the leading rusher, I think, in the preseason last year, like of the league, not just the Packers. He has got a great chance to do it again this year. We got to see Grant DeBose just ball out yesterday, but he's going to need like 2 more games in the preseason like that to
Invader.
Yeah, the dog hears me talking, man. And so Grant DeBose has got to ball out 2 more games because it's just like, when I'm watching it yesterday and then you see Samari Toure out on the field, like he was the guy that I wanted to make the roster last year. And, I just don't see him cracking the roster this year. But I want to talk about the quarterback too. Like Clifford and Pratt are both ballers, man. Yep. They both go out there to play. And now why I don't think either of them right now are in a place that, like, if the worst case scenario happened where Love got knocked out for a big portion of the season, I don't know if these 2 guys are going to lead us to the playoffs, but they give you the vibe that they're going to go out there and they're going to play their asses off, and they're going to do everything they can to keep us afloat. But their performance yesterday, man, both of them just solid games. It's what you love to see. I thought Pratt would come in here and push Clifford out of the picture. But I think this QB2 battle is going to be the funnest thing to watch all preseason.
Yeah, I thought Pratt looked a little bit cleaner than Clifford did, but they both, like you said, Bernie, had solid game time. But yeah, I like you said, I don't think I would trust either of them with to win anything major if something were to happen to Jordan. But I think as of right now, maybe Clifford would be able to lead it a little bit better just because he's had a little bit longer in the system to help him out a little bit more. Let's go ahead and talk about it because I have some feels on it. Bo Melton. I'm not saying he's as horrible, whatever. He did have some bad luck on some, his drops yesterday. But I think what's hurting him is Dubois stepping up. And we kind of were talking about this before hitting the record button. Yeah, some of the throws that Melton dropped weren't the best throws, but the old adage is if it hits you in your hands, you've got to come up with it. And he didn't come up with it. Now, I'm not doom or gloom with him. We'll see what happens this next game. If he continues that downward trend with the drops, then you maybe got to consider, okay, he's not going to be making the 53. But and if DeBose continues catching everything, the only thing I got to say about DeBose is it seemed like a lot of his were more body catches, and you've got to stay away from the body catches in the league. You've got to be able to handle your hands catches a lot more. Now, if it's what's thrown at you, you do your best with it, but that's the one thing that they work on at training camp is making sure you're catching with your hands, not with your body.
Yeah, I can agree with you there. And another thing about these wide receivers that I would like to see is like knowing that Love is not going to be taking snaps in Denver. It would be nice to see Clifford and Pratt both get a shot at like the offense with some of these, starters in there to see what can they do with the rest of the starting offense. I don't know if we'll get that in Denver. We'll probably get it from Clifford at least. Clifford will get some snaps with some of the starters. We'll see if Pratt gets that chance. But that's something we got to take a look at sometime this preseason, right? Is letting these backup quarterbacks play within the offense with the bigger names out there and the bigger line.
Mike, what you got for bright spots on the offense?
I thought overall the O-line looked pretty good. The shining moment for me from the whole game is when Chris Rose dropped the Newman after Newman jumped false start on that one play in the middle of the second quarter. I was like, yes, that is exactly what every Packer fan thought in the moment. But yeah, it was good. I thought Ryan actually looked better at center than I thought he would during the game. I know it wasn't really against the Browns top line, but overall the guys that you're hoping to make the roster, I thought they showed pretty well along the O-line. Running backs, yeah, the Dillon thing, it's obviously you want to see him do better. I thought he actually, the fourth down run, I thought he did actually make a good cut, ran with some power. He just ran into four guys because the entire right side of the O-line got their ass kicked kind of thing. Yeah, the second down play, he just had nowhere to go. The third down play, I thought he shuffled too much. But, to each their own. He was playing against a more, like half starter, half second string kind of group, whereas Wilson was playing against second and third stringers. So you want to see, redistribution of snaps. Dillon probably doesn't play in Denver either. So, you get to see Wilson against more starter-y types kind of thing, depending on who Denver throws out there. But we saw the main thing for guys like Wilson is the good shit we saw from him last preseason. We saw it again, and he was better in other places too. And that's the kind of thing you like to see out of a guy who's in his second preseason with the team is like, okay, like he's still got what made us excited last preseason, but on top of that, he's added a couple elements to his game. Still want to see him use in the receiving game a little bit more, but otherwise, yeah, like not too much to complain about. He had some kind of spotty run blocking here and there, but that's kind of what happens when you keep shuffling your O-line around as you get deeper and deeper into these preseason games. But it did seem like our O-line and, Rose and I forget what the other Browns guy talked, the more color commentator guy, they kind of were lamenting that the Browns D-line didn't look as good as they hoped as it would. They're supposed to be a group with pretty solid depth there. And Green Bay, after a couple hiccups here and there, Green Bay's O-line did kind of push them around the yard a little bit on Saturday. So I thought that was really good to see too from the reserves. So, it's game one of the preseason. The main thing, and on offense, and we'll get into it on defense too, your main starters, they all played very well. Like the guys that you're expecting to play well on offense, it was, Jacobs runs for like 7 yards on his first
right off
his
the bat.
only run.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was on that was what? That was on Dillard and Ryan blocking off the right side, right?
So,
and I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Telford too. Telford I thought was awesome. I think for
Telford looked better than I thought he would.
Yeah.
And I know that the Cleveland wasn't really rushing anyone of name on him, but still, like, it was good to see him acquit himself well. Yeah. So
I completely agree. Yeah, his pass blocking sets were nice. He had a spin move that kind of messed him up a little bit, but for the most part, for an undrafted free agent being a second-year guy there, he looked good, man. I was like,
out of all those big tackles that they've like kind of signed or drafted late, he looked the best out of them that got to play on Saturday. So that's always the kind of stuff that I find really promising to see. And like we kind of touched, I don't have much to say about the offensive coaching because it was a pretty, beans and, meat and potatoes kind of game where it's just like pretty standard, nothing exciting, but guys making exciting plays out of the mundane and stuff, and you don't expect to see much game planning in a preseason game. So it was how you got explosive plays. You got it the way you want to see it in the preseason. It's the guys actually doing the heavy lifting, not like, LaFleur drew up something that got someone wide ass open on a play. So good to see.
That's the argument. That's the argument that the Jordan Love haters are making. Oh, well, LaFleur called a play that got Wicks. I'm like, dog, Wicks broke that dude's ankles right off the line. That's what that was.
The dude pulled something too, because you could see he kind of pulled up going into the end zone. So I was like, he cooked him.
Yeah, his pride. He pulled his pride. That's
what kills me. Like, those gimme throws were ones that Jordan was missing in the beginning.
Yes, and that's the whole point.
People don't get, and then
that's the exact point to make. Yeah, is that it's a live rep against not your own defense, who's seen you and you've seen them for a month at this point. This is a defense that you like I said, not much game planning for, but you did put, you did watch film, you did kind of put a very vanilla game plan together, and it's like, okay, we're gonna run a slot fade on this guy, Dontavion. We expect you to beat him. And Jordan, if he does and he's in single coverage, you're going to hit him. And they both did.
That was Rodgers' bread and butter back in the day. He used to hit Lazard on that. He used to hit Adams on that. But it wouldn't be breaking in. It'd be breaking out when he would do the slot fade, right? But I saw that. I'm just like, dude, like they play single high safety on that, and I was like, all right, you're going to do that. And the thing is, like, our offense, the way it's set up now, because with Aaron Jones, when he's out there, he's amazing, right? Don't get me wrong. And now that we got Josh Jacobs, it's going to be a thing where, like, pick your poison. Like, are you going to stack the box? You do, and you got to put someone in the box. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to have someone like Christian Watson, Dobbs, Wicks, Reed. Someone's going to get open, right? Or you're trying to have Musgrave or Kraft. And then if you decide to play shell, which I play, too high, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to have Jacobs, Wilson, and hopefully Lloyd or Dylan running down your throat. I don't know, man. It's going to be the sky's the limit right now. And I'm getting a little too hyped. That's all I know.
A 65-yard bomb on his only throw or his only real throw will make you do that. So
you know what though? We needed that after seeing all the freaking hype for Caleb Williams against like Buffalo's like second and third stringers, and they were just like, "Oh my God, he's perfect. He's the next Aaron Rodgers. He's the next Pat Mahomes." I'm like, dog, he ain't playing nobody. Buffalo ain't playing no one. What are we doing right now? I was like, okay, you know what? I needed that. I need 2 for 2 touchdown. Yeah, I needed that. I needed to shut that shit up, man.
To be fair, this is the first time in 40 years since the Bears have been able to get hype about a quarterback. So we got to let them have it for a little bit.
No, don't forget now. Receipts, baby. They were talking about Mitch Trubisky taking over the fucking North. They were talking about he was going to dethrone Aaron Rodgers. He was the next guy, man, and blah, blah, blah. No, don't forget that now. Don't forget the quarterback of Buffalo. They talk about him being the next great back thing. Get out of here.
Now, I don't know how to take this stat. I don't know if this tells me that the Browns' defensive line was just complete shit, or if the Packers' offensive line was actually standing up. And Mike, you might have to correct me if I'm wrong since you're my stats guy, but I think I read something that said Newman and Dillard didn't give up any pressures in
I heard that.
22 snaps or whatever.
Yep.
Dillard, I'll believe. Newman had somewhere, it's all subjective on how people write up what a pressure is and stuff. There was still a couple plays. One of them was definitely the one where what's it called? Clifford had to break the pocket to his left, and he threw that throw to DeBose on the sideline where DeBose was diving out of bounds to catch it. Part of that is because Newman did his usual shit and got bull rushed right back into Clifford's lap. So, I mean, like I said, by certain pressure rules, he is between the rusher and the quarterback. So they technically can say it wasn't a pressure, but I'm sorry, like anyone who's played quarterback in a high school JV pickup game, on the beach, and someone gets dropped in your lap, it's like, shit, I'm breaking this pocket. Like I'm not staying back here anymore. So yeah, pressures is one of those that it's like it can be subjective. I thought Dillard had a solid game. He had a couple plays where he kind of got a little shook because there was like a double move, but overall I thought he played solid on the edge. Newman was Newman. Still kind of doesn't know where to look when there's a stunt and stuff. Yeah, so yeah, it's
that's why. But he won't be gone because as a rookie, he had over 1,000 snaps, and
I think
he has photos of the floor, man. He has photos.
I think the renegotiation makes it easier to cut him this year because
I agree with that.
It's two ways because it makes him easier to cut and it makes him easier to trade. So either way, I think his days are numbered, and you're looking at like a kind of a Van Lanen trade, kind of thing. Yeah.
And then you got to think with all the offensive line help that they pulled out of the draft that shows that they're not trusting Newman anymore. You don't pull Monk to be your interior guy. You don't draft Jordan Morgan to be, whatever he's going to be. You don't draft Glover to,
hyping up Tenuta and stuff like that. So
and Caleb Jones,
a lot of guys, and then Donovan Jennings. That kid, the Donovan Jennings dude, is the UDFA who was like one of Dan Brugler's like top guards coming out, like. Who didn't get drafted? Was he a Michigan, right? Was he Michigan or was he?
No, he's like one of the smaller Florida schools.
One of the smaller schools, right? Yeah, but they say he's absolutely amazing. And right now he's banged up. He's injured right now, but he's a guy.
Yeah, that one surprised me. I didn't remember hearing he got hurt because
I think he came in with something. I think he came in with like a shoulder or something like that. So
okay,
but we'll put a bow on the offense. Like I said, it's preseason. It's the first preseason game. It's a singular data point, so nothing to really trend off of. Just what
is it we've always got to say? That remember the year the Lions went 0-16, they were 4-0 in the preseason.
That's why I'm waiting for the Bears. I want the Bears to go undefeated in the preseason. Y'all setting yourselves up now. Y'all seeing yourselves up now.
Hey, did you see that? And it was like Rodgers' second preseason in like his first first preseason game of his second preseason. It was against the Browns, and he on the third play he threw like a 65-yard touchdown pass. It was like it was like deja vu.
Yep.
That's crazy.
That was the 2010 season. I think it was the 2010 season, where he did that. And so it's like this whole like
that was the one driver got dropped into the stands because no one was there to catch him.
Yeah, it's like every 14 years, right? It's a whole every 14 years thing. So definitely think like there's a possibility, man. Man, team's young. They already went through the heartbreak like we did against Arizona in 2009. So hey, I am ready for it. I am ready. And then look, new DC came in. New DC came in around that time too. I mean, he came in 2009. Capers came in 2009, right? But so hell, sign me up, baby. I'm down. I'm good. Let's go.
And to transition over, let's talk about that defense. So again, nothing much to take away, but you did see a couple. It's a different. It's a 4-3 base and 4-2-5 nickel. But just in terms of intensity and so the point of comparison between Barry and Hafley, and this is probably like the only way I'm gonna say this is like the two schemes are predicated on like it's nothing overly complicated, and it's it's the expectation is like we do that so that you know what you're supposed to do and you're supposed to go and execute. Yes. But we actually saw it from Hafley's defense. And,
exactly.
The point I'll lead off with before, and then we'll throw it around the room again is, and I know I've said this at a couple times every couple years, but that is one of the best tackling performances I've seen a Packers team have on defense in a while. And it didn't seem like it was a lot of smoke and mirrors. It did seem pretty like across the board. You saw everyone from D linemen to linebackers to defensive backs breaking down, getting tackles in space. So that, you know, like I said, that's the point I want to see drawn out over the rest of the preseason, because all the best defenses, they tackle and they tackle well. And that's kind of where I'm going to leave it. But Bernie, Amr, what do you guys, what else did you guys like seeing out there?
You want to go first, Amr?
Yeah, I do. I do.
All
When
right.
it comes to defense and comparing Joe Barry, I do, baby. Thank you, man. That's why I love Bernie, man. Bernie knows my heart. Okay, so so the truth is, like, no joke, you could just see, like, even when you watched Half coaching up the defensive backs and training camp, and the fact that he's a defensive coach by nature, right? But the way he was able to kind of take things, like Andy Herman really explained this great, where like he got back in his element and he wasn't about like, hey, cookie cutter approach. I have a way that I want you guys to do things. And if you do it differently, I'm not going to accept it. I feel like Joe Barry was very much like that. And Half was it showing them how to do things. And then when Ja did a different kind of way, he was kind of like, hey, I know you do this a little bit differently, but you're still doing exactly what I want, but you're doing it your own flair. Works perfect. And that, I feel like, has been permeated through the whole defense, right? To where
Words are hard.
Right, I know, right? That's an SAT word, man. But like, look, no joke. Like, it's just one of those things where you can see the defense is playing extremely more actively. Something that Mike said about the tackling. I think the guy that really stood out was Evan Williams. And when he was drafted, I remember I was on this show and I put my hands up when he got drafted because I just wanted another safety. And then I was like, wait, Evan Williams, the 7th round pick. And then we got him in the 4th. What the hell are we doing? And then Justice Mosqueda, I told you guys earlier before we started recording that Justice Mosqueda got a message from the defensive staff from Oregon saying that, hey, congratulations, you got our best defensive player. And no joke, every interview Evan has done, he sounds like a 3-year pro. He also has been making play after play after play. I mean, dude, he's literally tried to kill Christian Watson like 3 freaking times. Like, and not intentionally, but I'm just saying, like, he's there, right? And even in this game, every time he was around the ball, it wasn't the fact that he was tackling guys like how Blake Martinez used to. You know, he'd hit him and then he'd get dragged for 5 yards or something, right? No, he's hitting him and he's stopping him right then and there. I mean, pure perfect tackling form and just knowing how to get guys down and not making things get worse than what they were. Caused a fumble. I mean, he was just everywhere. And yes, I know that if you have to give Joe Barry some credit, his first year as DC, they were a very, very, very good tackling team. They were all hats on the ball. I think that's when, Devontae Campbell had like his all-pro year. So there was a lot of things that played into it. But then you saw that kind of go away following years, right? That tackling aspect was gone the last couple of years. I feel like Halfley, I think it is simple. And I think that is definitely being pushed across. But the fact that my last thing I'll say here is Devontae Wyatt. He was a menace on those first 2 drives. Like, they had no answer for him. And he was the reason why Lucas Van Ness got a sack. He was the reason why that the quarterback, Jameis Winston, was had to throw away incompletions. Like, he was literally like, that is the guy that they thought they drafted out of Georgia. And he's showing up. And I think if the whole defensive line plays like that, it's going to be similar to Legion of Boom, where you're going to have 4 rushing and you're going to have everybody else in coverage, and they're all just going to be making plays on the ball. And I can't wait. All right, I'm done talking. If I'm going to keep going. I don't want to talk anymore.
Yeah, I'm just going to
say. I'm hyped.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I love the performance we got from Evan Williams. The only thing I'm going to say about him was, like, I thought he was going to come and lead this team in special teams tackles this year, because he led the Ducks in tackles last season. And so I know he's got a nose for the ball, and he showed it yesterday. He might be our leading tackle for this preseason, and the way he's playing is he's going to put himself out there for meaningful snaps. The Lukeness monster, right? We saw him with 3 tackles for a loss yesterday. And, give the assist, like you said, Umar, to Wyatt on that sack. But that's what this defense line is going to be all about, is that you can't double up on anyone. One guy is going to be chaos and disruptive, and then the other guy is going to finish up the play. I'm stoked. Van Ness is a much better player with his hand in the dirt. We saw that in Iowa, right? Like, he doesn't need to be in a 2-man stance. He's he's a monster. Put his hand in the dirt, unleash the beast. And we're going to see that with Van Ness this season. As for the linebackers, I feel like the inside linebacker, that's where we got to really nail down. We're going to need more from Cooper throughout this time. McDuffie might be a guy that plays a lot of snaps early in the season as Cooper catches up, because McDuffie already knows the Halfley system, being a Boston College guy. And I'm excited for this defense. Like we saw great tackling yesterday, like that's been said, and I'm excited to see anything that's not Joe Barry, honestly. That's just kind of where I am at with this defense. It's got me excited, right? I got to stay composed, though, right? Because we saw Winston yesterday. There was no Amari Cooper, no Jerry Jeudy out there yesterday either, right?
Yeah, he has a knee injury, so he's going to be probably out for a little bit. Yeah,
and so it's like we saw some great things from this defense, but I'm not trying to hype myself up too much yet. But it's a step in the right direction, right?
Yeah.
Like it's I feel like the transition is ahead of itself already.
100%.
Even Eric Stokes was looking better. I mean, he was making tackles and he was getting in there and making plays. The one, and I'm always the Debbie Downer of the group. I got to be the Debbie Downer of the group. Keyshawn was looking a little rough, though.
Yeah, 100% agree.
He was making plays, but it seemed after the catch had already been made or whatever. So, you're knocking rust off. This is the first real game action you're getting since, January. You're out there, you're learning the new system. But for as much hype as Halfley and all them were putting on Keyshawn going into this preseason game, we're excited for him. That's why we brought him back. This is what we were going to do with him. He was looking a little bit rough. I gotta, the linebackers, obviously we were missing Cooper, we were missing Hopper, so we couldn't see what we had there. But Quay was looking pretty good. McDuffie is going to do what McDuffie does, and he's not going to be your coverage guy. He's going to be your downhill runner that cleans up, a run game play or, rushes the quarterback a little bit more. The safeties was looking great. Anthony Johnson Jr., who Mike and I have really pounded the table for, even though he is a fucking cyclone. He's good. The only issue is he reverted back to last year's tackling on one of the plays where instead of wrapping up and pulling down, he tried to hit with the shoulder and came off of him, and it allowed the
savage
effect. Yeah, pretty much. Although we got to watch that because Mike is a huge Savage fan, so we can't denigrate.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
But that was the only thing I saw bad about Anthony Johnson Jr. was just that one tackle where had he put everything behind it, it would have been a little bit different. But he slid off the guy, and the guy got a few more yards. The pass rush, of course, my boy. I'm an Iowa guy. Lucas Van Ness looked great.
Yeah, he looked good.
Cox even looked a little bit decent. He had a few rough moments, but he was looking pretty good. There was one other guy that I was trying to think of, but now he's completely went out of my mind, so he must not have been that important anyway. But overall, like you guys said, I'm really excited for this defense. I'm always excited when a new coach comes in. I was, when Joe Barry took over, I wasn't excited about the pick, but I was excited to see what the defense could do because, we were just coming off of a rough defense with Patton. A change can always do, it's either going to be good or bad. Mm-hmm. Well, you got to be excited for what the journey is going to take you on that. We found out what Barry did. That was the end of it. Now we got Halfley, who seems to be a better coach, if you want to say it. The one thing I've always said about Joe Barry is he's a good positional guy where he can teach up a position, but he can't install a scheme. Whereas Halfley seems like a guy that can not only coach up his players, but he knows how to install a scheme and he knows how to make adjustments with that scheme. Now we'll see what happens when they actually put, in live, in regular season games to see how well he's going to be able to make adjustments. But, with what the defense did yesterday, even the second, third, fourth string guys, it's got to get you excited for it. I mean, I know it's preseason, but they still held them down to 2 scores.
Yeah. And I mean, Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna finish it by saying, and that's got to be got to be something that makes you excited.
I was gonna say, when it came to, like, we knew what Joe Barry, not to belabor that, but we knew what we got when we got him, right? He had a history of being a very mediocre to subpar DC, right? With Hafley, we knew that he had been a part of really good defensive schemes and defensive teams, but we didn't know as a full-time DC coordinator as himself, not like as a co-coordinator like he was at Ohio State. We didn't know what we were going to get. And people were able to kind of break down the stuff that he did in Boston College to get understanding about defensively what he was going to do. But still, even then, though, being a head coach is completely different than being just a DC, right? And I think the one thing that I've heard, and I thought this way too, was that we have a Matt LaFleur on defense now. Yeah, we didn't have that before. Like, very much like Joe Barry was like the definition of insanity, where like he kept trying to do the same thing, expect a different result, right? I feel like with Hafley, what we're going to see from week in and week out is not going to be the same thing every week. Like, he's going to adjust just like LaFleur does when it comes to who he's playing and trying to take advantage of deficiencies and weaknesses against that team. And I'm all for that. Like, I know, like, I still saw us 10 yards off on a 4th and short, which on a 3rd and short, which really drove me crazy, but it's a preseason. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen in real games. But yeah, I couldn't agree more that we have, I think, like, we may have a Matt LaFleur on defense, and that's extremely exciting.
I'm going to use this analogy for Joe Barry, and this will be the last time I'm going to talk about him this episode. He reminds me of the coach from Waterboy, not Henry Winkler, the other one. He could do everything in the world that came out of that book.
Yeah.
But once it got away from that book, he couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And that was Joe Barry. He could do everything by what his book told him to do with that scheme.
Yeah.
But when it came to adjustments and trying to go outside that book, he couldn't do a single thing out of it.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I don't even think he was even that good. That guy actually was a successful coach.
Well, yeah, I mean, but if you think about it, when Hafley could get his book to go and it was being run by the book, he was having some success with it. Because you would get the odd game that, they held him down to like 2 scores, or they did this, or they had this many sacks, or they had this many interceptions, or they did this and this. That was when everything went perfectly by the book.
Yeah.
I personally don't think Joe Barry could win the Bourbon Bowl, but that's just me.
Hey, thank you, dog. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Only Bobby Boucher can win the Bourbon Bowl. Baby.
Yeah, come on now. Give that man too much credit.
All right, so what do we got next, Mike? Are we going to touch on a little bit of special teams and then we go into our newest segment? Or
yeah, we'll do that. So, like I hinted at before, we finally saw the new kicking rules, and they actually weren't as. I think it was one of those where it's like I just need to see it. Reading the words was giving me a headache and making me cross-eyed. It actually did, like, even as Rose and stuff were like trying to just do the Cliff Notes version on the broadcast. It was kind of like, like what? And then, but once they're like, and especially because they did put the like kick it here zone kind of thing and stuff, that made it, that was the kind of visual graphic that we needed to make it very apparent as like, okay, like that's what you're going for and stuff. So
the only thing I didn't like about the kickoffs or these new kickoffs is starting at the 35 on a touchback. I think we're getting to the point where that's getting too close into, to the 50-yard line and all that. So what's the point of even trying to do a run back?
Well, that's the thing is like the whole point with that rule is like they're trying to stop teams from kicking it into the end zone and stuff. So, or that like seeing it played out, the person who would have benefited from this shit the most is end of Packers career Ryan Longwell, who like could get hang time on kickoffs, but couldn't kick it past the 5-yard line to
Yeah,
save his life.
so
These
true.
rules were like made for
him. God.
early 2000s Ryan Longwell to a T. So, yeah, like I liked it. I ended up liking it. Like I said, just trying to read through the rules and like reading through the like other players do not move until the ball is caught and all that crap. It was like, how is that gonna look? But it actually didn't look as stupid as, you know, it kind of played out.
Right.
The way I kind of liken it to is it played out like a penalty kick in soccer kind of thing, where it's like, yeah, and I liked it. I'm sure there'll be something where I'm like, oh, this is stupid, but overall, I did like how the action played out on it. I think it does. Ironically, I think it does kind of solve a lot of the safety issues that you had from the old kickoff rules, where you had guys running from 30 yards apart and they're just spearing the living shit out of each other. You know, they tried to like rule out the 2-man wedge and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and all all the stuff that we grew up when we played when we were holding hands at like the 10-yard line, and it's like creating, you know, the inverted V as we try to return a kickoff. So,
well, you guys had Ryan Grant on recently, and he was even talking about some of that stuff where, you know, had they been doing the same things in practice now back when he played, he'd still be playing for, you know, who knows how long. Instead of the 6 years that he had, he'd still be playing, you know, 10 years down the line because they're protecting him a little bit more in practice.
Yeah. And then otherwise in the kicking game, it was nice to see Anders make everything, nice to see Joseph make everything. Good to see Anders have to kick like a walk-off kick to end the first half and stuff, but otherwise, and it was good to see Orzik make good long snaps. He needs to fucking keep doing that, because I'm sick and tired of seeing Dan Whelan have to become a freaking ballerina and contortionist to catch every long snap and put the fucking ball down. So whoever wins it, you know, whether it's Orzik or
Bowden, Peter Bowden.
Bowden, man.
Yeah, Bowden.
That's my boy.
You got that right off the tongue, dog.
That's my Badger boy. That's my Badger boy.
Whichever one, whoever's gonna put it right here where Whelan's got his hands, that's all I give a shit about. Like, just do that, keep doing that. So yeah, but the rest of you, any thoughts on the special teams? I feel like overall nothing too much to speak of otherwise.
My only thought is like Joseph and Carlson did what we asked them to do, right? Carlson banged a 46-yarder in, right? That's that area, right? That's that range where he was struggling, that 40 to 49 yard range.
Yeah.
So that felt good.
Barely banged it in though.
Yeah.
That pitch was going left, and I was like, that. It was like that, dog.
I'm okay with that one, because talking to kickers, that is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to kick it at that opposite upright, because especially if you're right-footed from the left side, it's kind of like when you throw a ball, when you throw a deep ball, the ball is going to fade a certain way kind of thing. Yeah, so you have a certain draw with how you kick, you know, that soccer style kick.
Yeah, I didn't know that, so that makes sense. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it is like, okay, and then you get into the like fucking calculus of it, where it's like, oh, but if it's windy and, you know, depending on which stadium you're in, the wind circles higher, the wind gradients are higher at different, you know, parts of the stadium and shit like that. So, but yeah, I don't, and you know, NFL, and that's what I tell everyone is, everyone's like, oh, like just kick it. I'm like, if you've never stood on a football field and just, you know, it looks fucking far from the old PAT spot. You know, it's like the ball snapped from the 2-yard line and you're kicking it from the 10. I'm like, when you're down there and you're looking at that thing, especially if you've ever held for a PAT or a field goal kicker, so you're on your knee already, you're like, oh, fuck, that's far away. Like that thing's far. So yeah, it's one of, I thought they were both fine. Joseph did definitely kick it, you know, a little more center mass if you want to go.
That's the funny part about Twitter is, oh, well, Carlson just barely made him in, and Joseph's kicking him right down the middle. So that means Joseph's got to be the better kicker out of the two, right? Well, if that's the only thing you've got to complain about the kickers yesterday, then I think we're kind of lucky right now.
Yeah.
I've been on a campaign to get rid of fucking Carlson since the moment we drafted him. And I want to bring back Mason Crosby because I'm just that guy. Okay, I'm just saying. But at this point, I don't care. I want to see what Alex Hale does in the next preseason game if he survives.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get any.
Yeah, it's probably because he just got him in. But even then, I would still had him out there, right? And then Daniel Whelan is my dog. Like, I think we finally have our 15-year punter. He was nice. He got the job done. There's a reason why he's been uncontested in training camp, because he's getting the job done. He's doing a damn good job with it too. So I'm happy with the Irish Hammer.
Bernie, we'll give you the last word on the special teams, and then we'll jump into our newest segment.
I'll just say that I want Peter Bowden to win the long snapping battle because he's a Badger,
Yes.
And
I'll give you this, Bernie. We haven't seen him screw up in a key spot yet, so
okay,
he's got that going for him so far.
and a disclaimer though, I did long snap in high school, so my first varsity snaps were as a long snapper my junior year or so. I just got a sweet spot in my heart for long snappers. And then if you come out of the University of Wisconsin, I don't care what position you're going to play, I'm going to root for you to succeed at the next level. So here's to Peter Bowden.
We've got a real mix here. We've got the Michigan guy and Mike. I'm an Iowa guy, and now we got Bernie with the Badgers. So
I like it.
Volatile. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take this since this was my idea, and then we'll go with that. But I came up with this wild idea because I got tired of seeing some things on Twitter. So we're going to call this segment the we're going to roast some bad takes on Twitter or from social media. So we're calling this the Boom Roasted segment.
Roasted.
So I've got one, Mike. I don't know if you pulled one. And we kind of got Amr and Bernie on late, so they're just going to follow us and roast these takes with us. So,
okay.
Mike, what was your bad take of the week?
Okay, so we kind of, and of course I can't find the friggin' tweet, even though you think I would be able to, but Struve had a dude on his show, on his podcast on ESPN in Milwaukee, who was basically saying, you only gave Wicks 6 snaps, so just cut him. And it's like, okay, like, even like, and as much as Joe like had to qualify his point, his whole thing is like, are they trying to trade him, or like at least you were going somewhat productive with it, Joe. Is it's like he might not be long for the roster, but what avenue is it? This dude was just like, just cut him. You're not going to use him, just cut him. And it's like looking pretty stupid. Yeah, he only, I get you. He's sitting there going, he only got 1 snap. What the fuck are we doing? It's like, dude, did you see what that 1 snap was? So yeah. Like, that's all I got to say about that is like, I'm going to say it and say it and say it. The way that this offense works, the way that with the roster construction is you've got, we said it, you got 5 to 7 guys who could be anywhere from locks to almost certain things to make this roster from a wide receiver point of view. Mm-hmm. LaFleur wants to play big personnel. That's why you've got Musgrave and Kraft. That's why they keep trying to hope that Tyler Davis is something and Ben Sims, develops into like he kind of is able to develop into a big dog Mercedes Lewis type of blocker. But so you're only going to have 2, maybe 3 receivers out there for the majority of the time. To get the most out of all those guys, you're just mixing and matching. So some games you're going to play 3 snaps, and other games it's like this guy, they don't have a guy who can guard Wicks. So Wicks is going to play almost every fucking offensive snap out there. The only guy that hypothetically you'd want out there for almost all the snaps is Watson because he's your deep guy. But even in that, I put in the aggregate of you want one of Watson, Reed, or Melton out there so you have your speed out on the field. And even then, you try to get multiple of them. So just going back to the original point, the whole Wicks, what are they doing? They have no clue. And all of it because he only got 6 snaps in family night, which is a glorified practice that doubles as a outreach to the fan base kind of thing. It's like, just simmer down, dude. Like, take a chill pill. Go pop an edible. Go pop a blunt or something like that. Just step back from the mic and take a chill.
How does one pop a blunt?
I was just gonna say, well, what you talking about? They do it different in Hawaii. Dog. What's going on there?
This is coming from someone who's never smoked one in my life, so that just shows.
Hey, hop on over here to Washington State.
Yeah,
let me just.
I'll show you what to do with a blunt.
This will be a really short anecdote. So my senior year of high school, we had, I think it's called Jam Fest. So it's this concert at the Waikiki Shell. It's all these reggae and reggae bands that all come to play. So my friend's like, like, you doing anything? I was like, no, like, we'll go. My buddy Brian Piotrowski, Packers fan too. So go meet him. We're walking across the field at the Waikiki Shell, and I'm like, Brian, what is that smell? And he just turns and looks at me like, are you serious, Mike? I'm like, dude, I don't know what the fuck that is. And he just starts pointing, and it's just like, puff, puff. I was like, go home. My dad's like, how was it? And I was like, I found out what weed smells like. My dad just looks at me and is just like, fucking sheltered ass child. My dad's like, I'm sorry I asked.
I was just gonna say, man. Hey, man, look, it's all good. Don't do it if you ain't done it. That's not your thing. If it's your thing, it's your thing, right? But now, going back to what you said, these guys get paid a lot of money to go on the radio and say stupid ass shit. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, it is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard anyone make commentary about about family night practice. That's all it is. We're talking about Allen Iverson. We talk about practice. All right. And for them to come out and make commentary about someone getting traded because they only got so many snaps in practice is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Alex Strofe is good people. Like I like Alex
people
Strofe
getting on Strofe for it, but it's like it wasn't
him.
The point. Yeah,
he
just happened to retweet it. That's his job.
Yeah, and if it was Kyle Wallace or whoever else that's normally on the show with him and the other guy Ben something, the one that showed up to training camp last year with the Aaron Rodgers jersey for the Jets. These guys don't deserve to like represent Green Bay in any way whatsoever, or at least Wisconsin sports, because it's like they don't know what the hell they're talking about, and they literally are just saying things for engagement and clickbaiting. And if that's what you're doing, that's cool. Then do your thing, but just understand you have no credibility whatsoever when it comes to actually knowing the sport, because that's just dumb. Like you don't trade away a second-year player because he's not getting snaps. No, you keep him, because what if you can't sign Dobbs? What if you can't sign Watson? What if you can't sign Reed? I'm just saying, like, there's a reason why Goody drafted the way that he did, because he knows that he needs to get an influx of talent, and he doesn't know who he's going to be able to keep. He may be able to keep all of them. May not be able to keep any of them. Who knows? But I definitely don't think that you trade away any of your talent, especially when they're on their rookie contracts. That's just dumb as hell to me.
And the second year of it, there's just no
right.
point in that. Yeah.
Second
but
year,
see, it's even worse because he was saying cut, not trade.
Yeah, that's my point. That's my point. Is like I said, like Joe, we talked about it in our show last week, and Joe was like, maybe there's something, maybe someone made a call and was like, hey, like what would it take to get Wicks off your guys' roster kind of thing. And it's like, and like Joe said, like that could play into the like, why isn't he getting a lot of snaps? Are they protecting him in case kind of thing and all that kind of stuff? But it's like this dude just was like, just cut him loose. You're doing him a favor. Yeah. And it's like, what?
Only one they should be cutting is Samari Toure. That is the only person they should be cutting. Because I know that's Bernie's man. I know, Cornhusker.
I've let go. I have let go of him.
Good, because he's let go a lot of balls too. So
he was my guy last year. DeBooz will be my guy this year.
Yeah.
All right. So for mine, I've got a clip, and strangely enough, it comes from the same fucking people. So I'm gonna play the clip, and then we're gonna go off on it real quick.
Oh, come on, man. He left practice with a bruise?
Come on, man. Come on. I got a bruised finger from playing soccer with Ben right now. But I go to work every day. I kept going in at it. A bruise? Bro, I tore both my ACLs. And he talking about a bruise? Come on, dog.
A bruise.
A bruise? He was on the ground laying down.
Did you hear him as well? He's like, just praying is something serious.
Yeah, come on.
Listen, I saw a clip of him after that. Dude, shoulder pads off, helmet off. Saw him walking around the sideline.
Practice.
Shoulder pads off.
Man, listen, I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful, because I believe that Christian Watson has a lot of talent. It seems like a very good kid. But, Doug, this is why they say that basketball players and track runners shouldn't play football, right? Because these guys just ain't built for it. Christian Watson might be fast as hell, but also he just ain't built for getting hit. He's not. This is practice. He get hit in practice. This is guys not even shooting bullets at him. These are guys literally just, not tensing up and trying to, tag off or wrapping.
All right, the clip goes on longer, but we're going to cut this a little bit short because some of us got to go. But that's just a horrible take. I had to look it up because I had no idea who this guy is, but it's at Kyle Wallace.
Yep.
And that's ridiculous. First off, you don't know what the injury is until after the fact. You know, we didn't find out until after the fact that it was an actual bruise. You know, for all he was thinking, he got hit so hard that, you know, he cracked a hip or he broke his leg or whatever. He didn't find out later until later it was a bruise. Second off, Amr said it in the middle of it. It was the end of practice. That's why he had his pads off. That's why they were doing this. That's why the practice was over. Third, he's had his injury problems before. We all know the history of it. They hopefully got a plan to get it worked out because they've started figuring out some of the things on it. It's not the same injury that he had dealt with before. He's had hamstring problems. This was a hit that he took from, I can't remember who the defensive back was.
It was Williams again.
Was it?
Yeah.
And he said he didn't know if it was right. And he said he didn't know if it was the helmet that hit him, if the knee came up and hit him, if the cleat came up and hit him. You don't know. To kind of go back to it, this motherfucker kept saying, "Oh, well, I got a bruise on my finger and I continued playing, or I tore both my ACLs." All right, motherfucker. When I was in high school, I tore my ACL in practice. Didn't know it was a torn ACL. I went through the whole fucking season without an ACL because I didn't know it was an ACL injury. It wasn't until after the fact when I finally went to a doctor that we found out that it was an ACL, a complete ACL tear. It's the same thing here with Christian Watson. He didn't know until after the fact how bad it was. And it turned out it wasn't as bad as what it felt like. And that's the thing with the NFL players. These guys put their bodies on the line all the time. When they get hurt, they're trained to stay down and not try to do anything with it in case it's worse than what it is.
And you can make it worse by standing up, 100%.
Yeah.
Right. So Kyle Wallace, I was going to say Kyle Lewis. It's not Lewis, it's Wallace. I know you don't listen to this show. You're fucking ESPN Wisconsin. You're another one of those that thinks you're better than all the other small people, but shut the fuck up. Seriously.
all that segment told me is like he has never been Charlie Horse bad once in his life.
Ever.
Another short anecdote.
ACL, running down the street or some shit, talking shit.
Another short anecdote. So we used to have film session when I played in high school. And so it was during our 2-a-day week. So we'd have the morning practice. They would film the practice, go in, do film and stuff. So I took a helmet in the ass cheek. It was the most excruciating thing I had felt in a long time. And I thought no one knew because I kind of came off it. I was just like telling my coach, Coach, I can't even walk right now. This thing hurts so fucking bad. And so then we're in film session and the play is coming towards the camera. And so play goes. I didn't know the running back got tackled behind me kind of thing. And so we're rolling through it. And then they stop it. And so they're like, "Oh, we're going to go into the next play." And as the coach is like rolling it to go to the next play, he's like, "Oh, wait, hold on. What happened to Kawano over here? Mike, you shit yourself." I was like, "No, it was a helmet. It was a helmet in my ass." He's like, "Dude, you just look like you got off a motorcycle after a marathon, a cross-country marathon." I was like, "That's what it felt like, coach." And like, back to Christian.
Okay, hang on just a minute. Bernie's got to take off. So, Bernie, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it all. We'll make sure to drop all your socials in that at the end when we're all done.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys. We gotta we'll have you come on Coast to Coast Packers here soon. We got a great season coming up, and Umar will let you know we got a fun show coming up tomorrow. But I gotta go feed the baby.
It actually goes right into this. It's perfect. Yeah.
All right, peace, man.
I see you, man.
Later.
Bye.
But like the point that Joe was kind of going to is like Watson. He's dealt with injuries his whole, the 2 years he's been in the NFL. He spent all of last year getting shelled, dealt with hamstring issues all season. And it's like he spent all offseason trying to figure out what the hell his hamstring problems was. Thinks he's like got it all figured out and under control. And shit, dude, if I got Charlie Horse so hard that I thought I broke my hip, I would be in tears on the ground too. And the thing the Celtics fan in me is like, it's like Paul Pierce going off on the wheelchair in the 08 finals. It's like everyone gives him shit about it, but it's like the dude thought he blew his knee out in the NBA finals, and it's like crap. And it's like, it's not exactly tick for tack, but I'm sure it was something similar for Watson, where it's like, oh fuck, like now what? Like what happened now, kind of thing. And then yeah, like Amar said, like you said, Joe, like it was literally the last play of practice, and we've all done it where we've got to, we walk down the hallway and we twist our ankle on like a dead spot on the floor, and you're like, oh shit, and then you like walk it off 5 minutes there, you're like, you kind of do that like, okay, good. I'm not that hopelessly old and unathletic at this point, kind of thing and stuff. But it's like, yeah, you're gonna be like, like Christian at his locker, like, oh yeah, good. It was just a bruise, kind of thing. And it's like, they're like, oh, he's laughing about it. It's like, fuck, like that's nervous laughing. So of course he's like happy that he was wrong about what it was and stuff.
Well, and then for them to sit there and bust his balls for, oh well, he said he was praying. Again, he didn't know what was going on at the time.
Exactly.
That's all he did was he felt pain.
Yeah, and I just think like to see that video of Kyle Wallace like standing up and being so robust and energetic and so freaking like on his soapbox about Christian Watson. Christian Watson's a 6'4", 6'5", 215 wide receiver. He's built like a freaking shit brick house. He's diesel shit. He's not no soft ass dude. All right. Every single injury that he has dealt with has been normally a lower extremity injury, and he did have some issues going on with his legs coming out of college. So there's nothing new there. Okay. It's funny. We're having his dad on our show tomorrow. So I know his dad is going to have an amazing time with that clip, right? Because his family does not waste any time to defend their boy.
We'll make sure we clip this for you so you can play it for him.
Please,
so you can hear
please.
me fucking go off on him.
Christian's dad's amazing. I always say like I would love to have family to bat for me like they do for him. It's amazing.
No shit.
And it's true though. Like at the end of the day, like you're over here talking about you have 2 torn ACLs. First off, you were an NFL football player. So I don't know what you did or what you didn't do, but don't ever compare yourself to a guy that made it to the NFL and who's literally probably the number 1 receiver in Green Bay right now. You're not on that level. So that's the first thing we're going to say. Second thing is that we all said it. It was at the end of practice. That's the reason why everything came off. And truth be told, nobody knows what the hell happened until they knew what happened. If it was a serious injury, his ass would have not had an interview. They wouldn't have interviewed him. They wouldn't have been allowed to interview if he had a bad injury. That's the truth of the matter. And I just think that Watson does have a bad rap of being injury prone. The truth is like there's NFL players that have – Aaron Rodgers ended the first 3 seasons of his career on injury reserve. So let's not like, come here.
And then in the first few years of his starting, he ended up on the injured list for a while.
Yes, exactly. He had the shoulder injury. He had the knee injury. He had a torn
concussions.
I mean, come on, man. What are we doing here? Like, I'm just saying, like, that is not a precursor to say someone's going to be a certain kind of player and to make these kind of commentary things about him. Because the truth is, Christian Watson is a beast. And here we go. We're talking about practice. Even in his interview, he said that if he had to play the next day, he would have probably played.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's always funny, these guys that sit in radio booths, like people like Chewy, like Mark Tremora, he said some crazy shit. But at the end of the day, though, he played the game. He played the game. And
I was just looking, Bulaga said something too.
Bulaga did say something too, and I didn't agree with it either. He kind of like, he made a comment where actually Watson's brother called him out. And he was like, dude, like you broke a rule, an unwritten rule that you don't call out players when these situations, especially when you've played before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that, completely unnecessary. And then I think Bulaga should be careful too. I mean, Bulaga was a beast. Don't get me wrong. He was one of my favorite tackles ever. But on the same end too, though, he had an injury. He had a little bit of an injury issue too his whole career. It was like
the only thing that I'm seeing that he said, and I could be completely wrong, is just quote, "I'm a little nervous for his mindset going into the season. When you play cautious, you end up getting hurt," unquote. So, I mean, he's just more saying, you can't go in being cautious about, oh, well, if I do this, I'm going to get hurt. If I do that, I'm going to get hurt. When you do that, you tend to get hurt.
And the thing in Watson's defense is
he didn't say that.
We can fight, you can argue that he needs to play to his height and all that kind of shit on jump balls, but we've never seen the guy let up on a play and kind of alligator arm something. So I'm not. That's the part of it that, like, and I know that's something that Trey got into it with a lot of people on last year. But until he starts to like, yeah, just start make, business decisions kind of thing, I don't really care. Like, it's the wish I would, wish I won't kind of stuff that, of course I wish you could be Superman on every play, but I've never seen him hot dog a play and like just miss it kind of thing because it's like, oh yeah, he looks scared to be out there kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why I said, and I don't even know what this Kyle Wallace does. Is he just
I don't know, man. I'll look him up real quick, dude. Like,
I don't even. What did he do? Is he just a broadcaster, or did he actually play sports or something like that? Because the way it sounds, he sounds like a guy that maybe played a little bit in high school or something and is trying to compare apples to oranges with NFL play and high school play. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know anything about him. I agree with somebody else I talked to that 1250 has really went downhill, or not 1250. ESPN Milwaukee has went really downhill after 1250 went out. And now they're trying to be a Skip Bayless or a Colin Cowherd or, one of those guys that just want to shoot out hot takes because it's going to give them clicks and views. Because, I mean, look, we just spent almost 20 minutes talking about this fucking clip.
Yeah. And he's also, I don't think he's actually, he's just been like a substitute teacher and stuff like that. I don't see it where he's actually played anything.
He might have played in high school.
Yeah, he probably played, yeah. But he's just, let's see, Kyle Wallace football. Let's look at this real quick. Kyle Wallace, defensive back. No, different guy. Yeah, so all I know is that he really ain't got much standing to talk on. He's also the same guy that was accusing Jordan Love of being selfish. So, again, he is a person of color who has an opportunity to be supportive of other players of persons of color. He decides to take the route to be pandering to maybe his crowd. I don't know. I just know that he decides to go and sell out when he makes these kind of comments. These are sellout comments.
It's clickbait. And that's all it is.
That's all it is. It's like you're trying to get views. You're trying to get people to call him that, yeah, Watson is trash. He's injury prone. He's this, right? Oh, yeah, Jordan Love is selfish. He shouldn't ask for more money. He should ask for less money, blah, blah, blah. Like, bro, like, stand on your business and, like, represent instead of like doing things that your producers are. And he's also a director of content for the show. So again, what it's
that's all about. It. I just learned everything I needed to know. That's all it is.
Dude. It's clickbait.
It is. He's doing this just for the hot takes. So again, I'm going to say this right to the camera. Kyle Wallace, I don't care. I've never met you before. I don't know you. I just learned about you after this clip. Shut the hell up.
Yeah,
unless you're gonna strap on the pads, unless you're gonna go out there and feel what it's like to get hit by NFL caliber players, shut up.
Exactly. Completely agree, bro. Completely.
And the only other thing I got to say about it is
roasted.
But for everybody, all the listeners in that's going to be our new segment. We are going to be just picking, hot takes. So if you guys got requests, you've got some hot takes that you've seen out there that you want us to take apart. Hell, if it was something me or Mike said, let us know. We'll fucking take it apart. I take it apart all the time. I don't even remember what I said yesterday, let alone what you're going to tell me. So,
Homer's going to have to keep the receipts for us.
Yes, no, I got you. Okay, I got you.
But all right, guys, do we got anything else we got to talk about, or do we think we pretty much said everything we need to say?
Like I said, it's hard to get, you try to get not too excited about the first week of preseason, but, the juices are flowing because football is finally back. We get to watch our team again, and they played well. Like, that's the thing is, like I said, there weren't too many things to complain about from Saturday's game, so not much to rue over. It's a pretty enjoyable watching experience, and just hopefully more things to come, and we just see the team trending up as the rest of preseason goes. So I'm gonna just take the time to thank Umar, thank Bernie. Thanks for coming on, you guys. We really like the work you guys are doing with Coast to Coast Packers. We'll hope to have you guys back on at some point, and we'll keep it going between our two groups.
Before you jump, Umar, you want to go ahead and tell everybody where they know where to find you most of the time, but you want to drop your handles and all that stuff.
Yeah, of course. I was going to say, Mike, Iowa, man, thank you guys so much for having us on the show. I know this has been a long time coming. We're definitely going to have you guys on here soon. And yeah, you can find us on Game On Wisconsin on the YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Our show is called Coast to Coast Packers. You can find me at on Twitter at AMAR3455. But yeah, if you guys, hey man, this is awesome, and yeah, just I can't wait to see you guys again. I'm ready for any shows you guys have lined up, and likewise for us too, man. We got to definitely collab some more. This is gonna be awesome, and just to say this, that preseason game yesterday was, I think, a precursor for things to come. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where this team goes from here, because I feel like we got a true taste of it last year at the end of the year, and I think sky's the limit. I think that this is our division for the taking, and I'm hyped, man. I just want to prove all the naysayers wrong. That's it. I just want to be able to take a shit on all of them. Sorry, it's maybe
Super Bowl, baby, Super Bowl.
But yeah, Super Bowl, baby, Super Bowl bust. That's what we're about, man. Hey, we Tile Town for a reason, right? So we don't hang banners for division championships and shit like that. We hang banners for Super Bowls. Now, it's a long time coming. Now we need one.
Well, Mike, carry us out of here. Do the spiel. Amr, it was great having you on. If you got to jump, go ahead and jump. We're going to finish out our spiel here.
I'm sorry. So my bad. Say it again.
Oh, no.
I'm just saying that if you got to go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
If you got to jump.
You can jump. Yeah.
All right, guys. Take care.
Take care.
See ya.
So, yep. One more time, we're going to thank Bernie for being on with us today as we recapped Game 1 of the 2024 preseason. Check us out. OhanaPackers.org website. As Joe kind of mentioned earlier, we've got our writers are starting to pick up their work. We're going to be putting out content more regularly in terms of blog posts, all of the streams of our shows, Brian's shows from Cheese Talk are on there. Follow and like the pod on your favorite podcasting apps. Give us a like and a subscribe if you're enjoying what you're hearing. Positive and negative comments, please leave them all, as we want to be making the content you're looking for. The Green Bay Packers got the 2024 preseason off to a good start, and we're hoping to see that continue in Denver. Iowa Joe, Mike Kawano, that's it for us this week. Go Pack, go, and aloha.